What if I told you that you've lived your entire life with a cosmic antenna turned off, right at the base of your skull? That every missed insight, every unspoken word, every unrealized dream is the result of this switch being left in the off position? Thoth, the scribe of the gods, codified the secret to turning it on millennia ago. Today, finally, I'll reveal to you where this switch is located and how to flip it in less than 20 minutes. Get ready. What you discover will forever change the way you perceive yourself and the reality around you. In the ineffable vastness of human knowledge, certain truths lie hidden not out of malevolence, but because of their intrinsic transformative power. There exists, in the human body's architecture, an anatomical point that the Egyptians venerated with reverent awe, an energetic nexus that transcends mere physiology, becoming a dimensional portal between the material plane and the subtle plane of consciousness. This arcane knowledge, jealously guarded in the mystery schools of antiquity and attributed to Thoth, represents not merely a historical legacy, but rather an operational key to awakening latent faculties in contemporary man. This treatise aims to disclose this knowledge with the rigor it deserves, integrating traditional wisdom with insights that illuminate its existential significance. This is not a simple erudite exercise, but an intellectual initiation that requires the reader to be mindful, epistemologically open, and, above all, to have the courage to confront one's own multidimensional nature. If these words have already begun to resonate in your consciousness, if you sense that this journey is not a coincidence but a calling, leave a tangible sign now, a like that lets me know we're on the same wavelength. And if you feel you want to be part of this circle of truth seekers, consider subscribing to the channel. Not just a subscription, but a silent pact of shared growth. Remember, it's your support that allows us to continue producing content that challenges the ordinary and awakens what lies dormant. Together, we can amplify this frequency of awareness. The anatomy of the arcanum, the forbidden point. In the posterior region of the nape of the neck, exactly at the base of the skull, lies an anatomical depression that the Egyptians identified as a nodal point of extraordinary importance. This is not a chance discovery, nor a primitive superstition. This locus corresponds to what traditional Chinese medicine, with over 2,000 years of clinical observation, calls feng fu, that is, the GV16 point of the governor vessel's meridian. The precise topography of this point deserves careful attention. It is located in the depression immediately below the occipital bone, where the spinal cord enters the cranial cavity. In Western neurological terms, this region represents the interface between the spinal medulla and the higher brain structures, an area crucial for the regulation of autonomic functions and the transmission of nerve impulses. What distinguishes feng fu from any other anatomical point is its function as a bridge between seemingly irreconcilable dimensions: the physical body and the etheric body, matter and consciousness, immanence and transcendence. Esoteric traditions maintain that in this specific locus, the barrier between the existential planes is so thin as to allow an energetic osmosis that would otherwise be impossible. The energetic architecture of the human body. To fully understand the significance of this revelation, we must momentarily abandon the paradigms of conventional anatomy and access an older and more subtle cartography. The body, according to traditional Oriental medicine, the human body is crossed by a complex network of energy meridians, invisible channels that convey thiki, that vital force which the Indian Prakriti Kalprana, and which Western traditions have variously identified with the spiritus, thepnu mayer thilan vital. Feng Fu occupies a strategic position in this system. It represents the main entry point for cosmic energy into the human body. It could be compared, mutatis mutandis, to a USB port through which the human biological computer receives software updates from the universe itself. This metaphor, however prosaic, effectively captures the functional nature of the point. It is not a mere passive receptor, but an active interface capable of modulating and amplifying the flow of energy. Ancient Taoist masters understood that appropriate stimulation of this portal could produce effects that far transcended mere physical well-being. They observed that activating feng fu generated states of extraordinary mental clarity, access to profound insights, and even what we would modernly call expansion of consciousness, an amplification of perceptual capacity that allows us to grasp layers of reality normally closed to ordinary awareness. 2. The Palace of the Wind. Etymology and Symbolism. The denomination feng fu, literally translated as wind palace, contains layers of meaning of unexpected depth. In the Taoist symbolic universe, the wind represents not simply a meteorological phenomenon, but rather the very emblem of the invisible forces that permeate the cosmos. The thoughts that fluctuate in the collective unconscious, the currents of inspiration that generate art and science, the waves of knowledge that traverse the very fabric of reality. Calling this point a palace is not mere poetic license, but a precise ontological statement. In traditional Chinese architecture, the palace was the place designated to welcome visiting figures of high rank, a space consecrated to the reception of the illustrious and noble. Similarly, feng fu is conceived as the royal abode where the subtle energies of the universe are welcomed, assimilated, and integrated into the individual's psychophysical structure. Let me tell you an ancient Taoist parable that beautifully illuminates this concept. In the misty mountains of Sichuan lived a fisherman named Liang, a man of simple habits but a restless mind. Every day he went to the river with his fishing rod, but rarely caught anything. The other, more experienced fisherman always returned with abundant catches, while he was left with an empty basket. One day, an old hermit came down from the mountain and watched Liang for a long time. Finally, without hesitation, he asked him, "Why doesn't your rod catch any fish?" Liang replied, "I don't know, master. Perhaps the fish don't like my bait, or perhaps my location in the river is unfavorable." The old man smiled. "The problem isn't the rod, nor the bait, nor the location. The problem is that you're not listening to the river. Before you fish in the river, you must learn to fish in the sky." Liang, puzzled, asked, "How do you fish in the sky, master?" The hermit gently touched the base of Liang's skull. "Here lies your celestial antenna. When you learn to activate it, you don't catch fish. You catch ideas, insights, knowledge. And when your mind is filled with these invisible treasures, the river itself offers you its gifts, because you have become part of its flow." Liang adhered to the master's teachings. Every morning, before going to the river, he sat in meditation and brought awareness to that spot at the back of his neck. Within a few weeks, not only did his basket fill with fish, but his mind was filled with insights that transformed his entire life. This parable perfectly illustrates the concept. Feng fu is the biological antenna through which humans tune into the subtle frequencies of the universe. It is no coincidence that Thoth, the god of wisdom, writing, and communication, is intimately associated with this point. He represents the principle of logos, the creative word, the verb that orders chaos in the cosmos. Thoth understood a fundamental secret that modern civilization has forgotten. True wisdom is not generated by the rational mind through logical deductive processes, but is received by an open and receptive mind, predisposed to listening to the universal frequency of knowledge. 3. The arcane technique, activating the portal. We now come to the practical dimension, the operational protocol through which this portal can be consciously activated. The technique, though disarmingly simple in its physical execution, requires an inner preparation that constitutes its true foundation. Preparation, the alignment of the three natures. Before proceeding with the physical stimulation of the point, it is imperative to establish an alignment between the three constitutive aspects of the human being: body, mind, and spirit. This preparation is not a mere ritual formality, but a necessary condition for the activation to produce its most profound effects. Phase 1. Positioning. Assume a sitting or supine position that allows the spine to remain erect without tension. The verticality of the spine is not a postural detail, but an energetic necessity. It facilitates the upward and downward flow of vital currents along the central meridians. Phase 2. Centering. Close your eyelids and turn your attention inward. Practice slow, deep breathing, not forced, but conscious. Visualize each inhalation as an assimilation of calm, each exhalation as a release of accumulated mental turbulence. This phase can last 3 to 5 minutes, until you reach a perceptible state of inner stillness. Phase 3. Recognition. With the pads of your fingers, relocate the depression at the base of your skull. Don't apply pressure yet. Simply feel the point, recognize its presence. Feel the subtle pulse of life beneath your skin, the tangible connection between your head and your body. This act of conscious recognition already marks the beginning of the activation. You are directing your energy and attention toward the portal. The cold method, the paradoxical key. The ancient technique, passed down through generations of initiates, prescribes a counterintuitive and surprisingly effective approach: the use of intense cold as a catalyst for activation. The simplicity of the tool, a simple ice cube, conceals a depth of physiological and energetic understanding worthy of admiration. Procedure: assume a prone position or one that allows for complete relaxation. Place a single ice cube directly on the feng fu point. For the first 30 to 60 seconds, you will feel a sensation of intense, almost unpleasant cold. Your mind may urge you to stop. This is the body's normal reaction to sudden stimulation. If you persevere, something remarkable will happen. The sensation of cold will begin to recede, replaced by a wave of heat radiating from the point through your head and neck. Keep the ice cube in place for 15 to 20 minutes. The physiology of activation. What happens during this procedure is a perfect example of how an ancient empirical insight is confirmed by modern neurophysiology. Thermal shock triggers a massive response from the autonomic nervous system. To counteract the localized cold, the body mobilizes a powerful blood flow to the region, abundantly supplying the brain and nervous system. More significantly, the brain begins to release endorphins into the bloodstream in response to intense stimulation. Endorphins, the body's natural painkillers, generate feelings of euphoria, well-being, and mental clarity. This is why many practitioners report experiencing a wave of happiness and lightness after just a few minutes of application. Throughout the entire process, continue to breathe consciously. Visualize a bright white light penetrating through the feng fu, filling the skull with clarity and dissolving any mental fog. This visualization component is not ornamental, but rather constitutes the bridge between the chemical-physical reaction, first level of activation, and the energetic spiritual transformation, higher level of integration. 4. The chakra of truth, awakening the authentic voice. The energy released by feng fu stimulation is not confined to the cephalic region. Like water released from a dam, it begins to flow downward, following the energy channels mapped by Eastern traditions. The first major center this current encounters on its descending path is the neck and throat region, home to the fifth chakra, the vishuddha, or throat chakra. The subtle anatomy of communication. This energy center, chromatically associated with the color sky blue, governs our ability to communicate, to express ourselves creatively and, more fundamentally, to live and articulate our authentic truth. In subtle yogic physiology, the vishuddha represents the bridge between the heart, seat of emotions, and the mind, seat of thoughts, allowing internal content to find manifest expression in the external world, through speech, song, writing, and all forms of communication. Reflect on how many times throughout your life you've swallowed words you long to utter, for fear of others' judgment, conflict, or rejection. Consider how many creative ideas you've stifled before they could even emerge, how many personal truths you've hidden behind social masks. Each of these repressions creates a small energetic blockage in the throat chakra. Over time, these blockages build up, resulting in a voice, literally and metaphorically, weakened. You may experience the classic symptom of a lump in the throat in stressful situations, difficulty expressing yourself clearly, or the frustrating feeling that no one is truly listening to what you have to say. These are unmistakable signs of a communication center that isn't flowing freely. Purification through ascending energy. When vibrant, purified energy from feng fu floods the throat chakra, it acts as a powerful alchemical solvent. Emotional blocks, fears of authentic expression, all the unspoken words that have crystallized in this area begin to dissolve. It is not uncommon for individuals, after practice, to experience a sudden urge to sing, write, or have honest conversations that they had put off for months or years. The connection with Thoth, master of language and communication, becomes viscerally evident here. Awakening feng fu means reclaiming your divine right to articulate your truth. With this center unlocked, communication is radically transformed. Your words gain weight and clarity because they come from a place of authenticity, not fear. You become able to express your needs, boundaries, and desires calmly and confidently. Creativity, which is also a form of expression, begins to flow more easily. The voice, which had been imprisoned by years of social conditioning, finally finds a channel to manifest in the world, and you realize that your unique perspective is valuable and deserves to be heard. 5. The Atlantean Legacy: Memories of Lost Civilizations. The benefits described above, improved sleep quality, increased daytime energy, and mental clarity, these are tangible and measurable consequences of the practice. However, they represent only the beginning, the side effects of clearing the energy channel. The true magic lies in what that channel, once freed, is capable of transmitting. Esoteric legends and ancestral memory. Esoteric traditions, often relegated by official history to the realm of myth and fantasy, narrate that Thoth was not originally an Egyptian deity, but rather a priest-king, a master of wisdom from an ancient, highly evolved civilization that disappeared in a cataclysm, the legendary Atlantis. According to these accounts, Thoth and a small group of initiates survived the destruction, migrating to different regions of the globe with the intent of preserving the knowledge accumulated by their civilization. He is said to have settled in Egypt, a much more primitive culture at the time, becoming the catalyst for its meteoric rise. The wisdom he brought with him was not contained exclusively in physical texts, such as the celebrated Emerald Tablet, but was also codified in bodily practices, rituals, and energetic techniques capable of unlocking latent human potential. The activation of feng fu, in this context, is seen as one of those lost Atlantean practices. It was a fundamental technique taught in mystery schools to prepare initiates. By stimulating this specific point, one would not only activate one's individual life energy, but would also establish a connection with an ancestral field of consciousness, a sort of cosmic internet that some call the Akashic Archives or Akashic Records. The morphogenetic field of collective memory. This field, according to theory, would contain the memory and experience of all humanity, including the civilizations that preceded our own. It is for this reason that some practitioners, while performing the technique, report experiences that transcend mere physical well-being. Sudden flashes of insight into ancient knowledge never formally studied, a strange familiarity with symbols or philosophies never encountered before, or a profound sense of belonging to a lineage of guardians of wisdom. These are not hallucinatory delusions, but accesses to deeper layers of one's consciousness, which, in turn, is interconnected with this field of collective memory. Contemporary neuroscience, through studies of non-local consciousness and synchronicity phenomena, is timidly beginning to admit that individual consciousness may not be as isolated and circumscribed as the materialist paradigm has long maintained. 6. The Central Revelation, Thoth and the Language of Light. We now come to the conceptual core that connects all the threads of this examination. The revelation that transforms this practice from a mere wellness technique into a tool for the evolution of consciousness itself. The cosmic identity of Thoth. Modern interpretations of ancient texts, such as the Hermetic writings, combined with esoteric traditions and even channeled accounts, describe Thoth in a radically different way from popular mythology. He would not simply be a deity of the Egyptian pantheon, but a cosmic consciousness, a highly evolved being of pure light, perhaps originating from a star system like Sirius. In this vision, Thoth would be part of a collective of consciousnesses charged with guiding and seeding evolution on developing planets, such as Earth. His mission was not to be worshipped as a god, but to act as a spiritual genetic teacher and engineer, incorporating codes of knowledge into the DNA and consciousness of primordial humanity to accelerate its evolutionary potential. The wisdom he left behind, including the activation of feng fu, would be a user manual, an operational guide that allows humans to independently activate these codes when they are ready. The Language of Light, telepathic communication. In this context, The activation of feng fu takes on a whole new meaning. It is considered a software update for our biological communication system. The now flowing energy begins to refine your intuition to a level bordering on telepathy, and you begin to perceive things differently. Instead of relying solely on linear logic, you begin to receive download-off information, complex insights, solutions to problems, profound understandings that arrive in the mind fully formed, without a gradual thought process. You become more sensitive to the energies around you. You begin to perceive the true intentions behind other people's words, to feel the vibration of a place, to know things without knowing how you know them. This is the language of light, a form of direct soul-to-soul communication that transcends the barriers of verbal language. It's the ability to communicate and receive information through frequency and vibration, not just through sounds and symbols. It's the native language of the universe, and you're just beginning to remember how to speak it. 7. The Emerald Tablet. The principle of correspondence. This connection with what we might call the universal mind or cosmic consciousness reveals a surprising truth about the very nature of reality. You begin to realize that the world is not a collection of separate objects, but a unified field of energy and information, and that your consciousness plays an active role in shaping what you experience. The fundamental Hermetic axiom. This realization is not new. It is, in fact, the fundamental principle that the ancient sages, led by Thoth, codified in one of the most mysterious and legendary texts in human history, the Emerald Table, Tabula Smaragdina. The most famous and central sentence of this legendary document, attributed to Hermes Trismegistus, the Greco-Egyptian fusion of Thoth, is a code that unlocks the understanding of reality. That which is below is like that which is above, and that which is above is like that which is below. This is not a poetic riddle, but a precise formula describing the fractal nature of the universe. The Hermetic axiom reveals that the microcosm, we, human beings, is a perfect reflection of the macrocosm, the universe. There is no real separation. The same laws, the same patterns, the same energies that govern the dance of galaxies and the formation of stars also operate within your body, your mind, and your consciousness. Every atom in your cells was forged in the heart of a star. Your nervous system resembles the webs of galactic filaments. You are not in the universe. You are the universe, experiencing itself in human form. The magic of correspondence. By activating feng fu, you are performing a microcosm that mirrors and influences a larger cosmic process. You are, in effect, aligning your personal nervous system with the vast neural network of the universe. The personal transformation you initiate by awakening your inner energy is not an isolated or selfish act. By the principle of correspondence, that change reverberates outward, contributing to the evolution of the planet's collective consciousness. Every time an individual awakens, they raise the frequency of the entire field. Understanding this principle changes everything. You stop seeing yourself as a helpless victim of circumstance and begin to realize that the universe is not happening to you, but it's happening through you. Your external reality is a direct mirror of your internal state. If your inner world is filled with chaos, fear, and limitation, your external world will precisely reflect that. If you cultivate peace, clarity, and abundance within, the universe has no choice but to rearrange external reality to match that new vibration. 8. The weighing of the heart. Inner judgment. You have activated the point. You have awakened the energy. You have purified the communication channel. Now you understand the fundamental principle that governs creation, and you possess the tools and the instruction manual. However, the possession of knowledge is not the end of the journey. You must now face the guardian of this power, a final test that will determine whether you are truly ready to wield it. And this test takes place not in a stone temple nor before an outside being, but in the silent corridors of your soul. The court of the soul. In ancient Egyptian texts, such as the Book of the Dead, more accurately translated as Book of Coming into the Light of Day, there is one iconic scene, the heart-weighing ceremony. After death, the soul of the deceased was taken to the Hall of Two Truths, where his heart was placed on one pan of the scales. On the other pan lay the feather of Mot, goddess of truth, justice, and cosmic order. Thoth, the scribe, recorded the result. If the heart was heavier than a feather, burdened by misdeeds, selfishness, and lies, it was devoured by Ammit, the devourer. If it was light and pure, the soul gained eternal life. What the mystery schools taught, however, is that this judgment isn't something that happens exclusively after death. It's an internal test, an archetypal process that occurs whenever an initiate is about to access a new level of power or consciousness. The inner balance. By awakening the energy of feng and connecting with the wisdom of Thoth, you inevitably activate this judgment within yourself. Your deepest consciousness, your higher self, begin to weigh your intentions on the scales of truth. This isn't a moralistic test in the religious sense. The scale doesn't care about the dogmas you follow or the social rules you respect. It measures something much more fundamental: purity of your intention. But why are you seeking this power? Is it for the greater good, for your personal evolution, or for the healing of the collective? Do you wish to use this energy to create, inspire, uplift, or, deep within your heart, are there traces of ego, a desire to control others, to prove your worth, to gain an advantage, or to act from fear? Thoth, in this context, is not an external entity judging you. He is the symbol of your own higher consciousness, that part of you that is incorruptible and knows your deepest truth. There is no way to fool this scale. You can rationalize your intentions to yourself, but your energy field does not lie. The vibration of your heart is clear and transparent to the universe. Only purity of intention, a genuine desire to align with truth and love, allows the energy to continue to flow, expand, and integrate harmoniously. If the heart is burdened, the energy itself contracts, and the flow is interrupted, not as a punishment, but as a safety mechanism. It is the universe saying, "Not yet, go back, purify your intentions, heal your wounds, and then try again." Overcoming this inner judgment does not require perfection, but rather radical honesty with yourself and a genuine commitment to growth. It means acknowledging your shadows without judgment and consciously choosing to align yourself with the light. 9. Becoming the scribe, architects of your own reality. We have reached the final revelation, the reason why this knowledge was so carefully guarded and considered forbidden for so long. The ultimate secret does not concern the awakening of hidden energies to have mystical experiences or acquire psychic powers. Those are merely consequences, side effects of the real purpose. The real goal of this journey is something much deeper and more transformative. It is about becoming the scribe of your own destiny, the architect aware of his own reality. The archetypal role of the scribe. Reflect on Thoth's role. He was not a mere observer recording the events of the cosmos in his books. As a master of the word and universal law, he was the keeper of the very rules that govern creation. He understood that reality is shaped by consciousness and manifests through vibration, frequency, and the word. By aligning yourself with this archetypal consciousness, you begin to transcend the state of passive victim of circumstances and become an active and deliberate co-creator of your life. The energy you awakened in feng purified and released through the throat chakra, validated and refined by the judgment of your heart, now becomes the ink with which you can write the script of your existence. Your words, your thoughts, and, most significantly, your feelings and beliefs acquire an immensely amplified power of manifestation. You realize that you are not at the mercy of the world. The world is at the mercy of your perception and your vibration. Let me share one last story, a tale that illuminates this final truth. In the ancient city of Thebes, there lived a young scribe named Amenhotep, trained in the art of sacred calligraphy. His technical skill was impeccable. Every hieroglyph he drew was perfectly proportioned, every line flawless. Yet, the texts he copied remained lifeless on paper. Beautiful words, but lifeless. One day, the high priest summoned him. "Amenhotep, your hand is skillful, but your texts do not breathe. Do you know why?" The young scribe, confused, replied, "Perhaps my ink is not of the appropriate quality, or perhaps the paper is not suitable." The priest shook his head. "It is not the outer ink that lacks power. It is the inner ink that you have not yet discovered. Come with me." He then led Amenhotep to a subterranean chamber of the temple, where ancient papyrus scrolls lay. These, the high priest explained, were written by priests who knew the secret. Study them. As Amenhotep gazed at the texts, something extraordinary happened. The words seemed to pulse, vibrate with a life of their own. "How is this possible?" he murmured. The priest replied, "These scribes wrote not only with pigment and papyrus, but with the very essence of their consciousness. Each word was imbued with their vital energy, their intention, their truth. They understood that true writing does not occur on paper, but in the very fabric of reality." "There is a point," the priest continued, touching the base of Amenhotep's skull, "where your consciousness connects to the universal field. When you activate this point and allow energy to flow through you, you are no longer simply a scribe copying words, but you become a channel through which the universe writes itself into the manifest world. Your words, your thoughts, your actions become creative incantations. This is true magic, not manipulating reality from the outside, but writing it from within." Amenhotep dedicated years to practicing this art. He learned to activate that sacred point, to purify his intentions, to allow energy to flow freely. When he finally returned to his scriptorium, something had changed. The words he now wrote carried a tangible power. Those who read his texts received not only information, but also experienced transformations. Amenhotep had learned that every human being is a scribe, and the parchment on which they write is their very life. The responsibility of mastery. This revelation carries with it a responsibility as immense as it is liberating. The point was considered forbidden not because it is intrinsically dangerous, but because it restores full and, at times, terrifying responsibility for your existence. It's easier and more comfortable to believe you're a leaf in the wind, tossed about by chance, the economy, or the actions of others. But the truth is, you're not the leaf, you are the leaf, you are the wind itself. And to accepting this means there is no one else to blame. No more excuses. Your life, from this point forward, is a direct reflection of what you choose to create. The power to heal, create abundance, manifest harmonious relationships, and build the life you desire does not reside in an external ritual, a guru, or a distant god. It lies in your ability to manage your inner state and use your consciousness as the most powerful creative tool in the universe. 10. Integration and daily practice. Intellectual understanding of these principles, however enlightening, remains sterile without consistent practical application. Transformation requires discipline, dedication, and, above all, consistency. The daily protocol. Morning practice, 15 to 20 minutes. Begin your day with a feng fu activation using the ice method. During the application, practice conscious breathing and visualization. Set your intentions for the day, ensuring they are aligned with your higher self. Awareness of the word. Throughout the day, pay attention to the words you speak. Remember that every word is a creative act that shapes reality, and gradually eliminate limiting language, complaints, and negative self-talk. Evening meditation, 10-15 minutes. Before bed, sit in silent meditation. Review your day without judgment, noting where you've aligned with truth and where you've deviated. Release what no longer serves, and recommit to authenticity. Signs of progress. During your regular practice journey, you may observe the following signs of transformation. On a physical level, you will notice improved sleep quality, increased vital energy, reduced neck tension and headaches, and greater mental clarity. On an emotional level, emotional stability will increase, anxiety will be reduced, and self-expression will be more confident. On a mental level, more frequent and accurate insights, improved decision-making ability, and amplified creativity will emerge. At the S-level spiritual, you will notice a sense of connection to something larger, increased synchronicities, and access to expanded states of consciousness. 11. Cautions and contraindications. Like any powerful practice, activating feng fu requires awareness and respect. There are some important considerations. Medical contraindications. Individuals with severe neurological conditions should consult a healthcare professional before beginning this practice. Those with cold sensitivity or Raynaud's phenomenon should proceed with caution. If you have recently suffered a cervical injury, it is advisable to wait until complete healing is achieved. Psychological considerations. The activation of dormant energies can sometimes bring repressed psychic contents to the surface. If intense emotions or traumatic memories emerge, it is important not to repress or judge what emerges. Seek support from a qualified therapist if necessary, and proceed gradually, respecting your own integration time. The importance of pure intention. As discussed in the chapter on weighing the heart, the intention with which you approach this practice is crucial. Using these techniques with manipulative, selfish, or harmful intentions will not only be ineffective, but may even backfire, leading to greater suffering and disorientation. The topic doesn't end here. In truth, we are at the beginning of an infinitely broader journey. The words you have heard are not simply information to be filed away in intellectual memory, but are seeds of transformation that, if nourished by constant practice, will sprout into a new way of being. The wisdom of Thoth, jealously guarded for millennia in mystery schools, codified in enigmatic texts, and passed down through esoteric traditions, does not belong to the past. It is a living legacy, a perennial invitation that the universe extends to every human being, ready to awaken to their multidimensional nature. The Wind Palace, that miraculous spot at the base of your skull, has been waiting patiently since you were born, ready to unfold the moment you acknowledge it with awareness and intention. It's no coincidence that you've encountered this knowledge right now, at this specific moment in your life's trajectory. The synchronicities that led you to these words are not accidental, but are manifestations of your own higher consciousness, orchestrating events so that you can remember who you truly are. With this knowledge comes a solemn responsibility. You now know that within you lies immeasurable potential, a cosmic antenna capable of tuning into the highest frequencies of existence. You know that your voice has the power to shape reality, that your thoughts and feelings are creative forces radiating into the quantum field, attracting and materializing corresponding experiences. The question that now imposes itself, with all its existential gravitas, is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you let it lie dormant as an intellectual curiosity filed away among esoteric notions, or will you transform it into daily practice, allowing it to radically redefine your way of inhabiting the world? The choice, of course, is entirely yours. The universe never forces, but always invites. It extends its hand in the form of opportunities, synchronicities, sudden insights. It's up to you whether you seize it. Remember, your personal awakening is not an isolated act. By the Hermetic principle of correspondence, every individual who rises contributes to the elevation of the entire planetary consciousness. At this crucial moment in history, when humanity stands at an evolutionary crossroads, each awakened soul becomes a beacon of light illuminating the path for others. It's not about proselytizing or imposing your beliefs on others. It's simply about embodying your truth with such authenticity and coherence that it becomes, in itself, a silent teaching. Your aligned words, your conscious actions, your centered presence. These are the true tools of collective transformation. Thoth, the ancient master, does not ask to be worshipped as a deity. He represents a principle, an archetype that lives within each of us. The ability to access universal wisdom, to communicate profound truths, to write reality with a pen of conscious awareness. And so, we have arrived at the final truth, the one that encompasses all the others. You are not trying to become something you are not already. You are simply remembering, awakening, recognizing what has always been there, but lies veiled in the oblivion induced by socialization, by conditioning and fear. The palace of the wind has always been open. It is you who have forgotten how to enter. Your authentic voice has never been lost. It's simply whispered, so softly you cease to hear it. The power to create your reality is not a skill to be acquired, but a birthright to be claimed. The ink is fresh. The parchment is pristine. The entire universe holds its breath in eager anticipation, for the creative force that moves the stars now watches through your eyes and acts through your hands. The final question, the only one that truly matters, is no longer what others have written for you on the pages of your life, but rather, what will you write? The journey begins with a single touch to the back of your neck, but it has no end. It is a journey home, to yourself, to your divine essence, to the visceral understanding that you are, have always been, and always will be, an inseparable part of the cosmic fabric of creation. The Palace of the Wind awaits your conscious arrival. The doors are wide open. The invitation is permanent. Welcome home. Allow me a brief note. This treatise was conceived not as a mutable dogma, but as an exploratory map for territories of consciousness that each individual must navigate independently. The truths presented here await verification not through blind faith, but through direct experience. May your journey be illuminated by ancient wisdom and your personal intuition, always maintaining the balance between open-mindedness and critical discernment. And if you have reached this point, you have entered a portal of knowledge that few have the courage to enter. Honor this moment with a like that testifies to your conscious presence in this space. Or in the comments, simply share, "The Palace of the Wind is open." So I will know you have truly integrated the essence of this teaching. If you wish, add your own personal reflection, answering the following question. What aspect of this knowledge has resonated most intensely within your soul? If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel to continue this journey together. Each new piece of content is a further step on the ladder of cosmic understanding. I thank you for your sacred attention, for the time you have dedicated to these ancient truths. May the winds of wisdom continue to guide your steps. May your inner palace always remain open to the highest frequencies of existence. With deep gratitude and appreciation, see you soon.